All right. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Career Path series. My name is Jessica, and I work at JHBC's Graduate Programs Office as a recruitment and student engagement specialist. I'm going to be introducing our guest speaker briefly. However, I wanted to go over just a couple housekeeping items. You'll note that the session is being recorded. We'll be uploading the recording to our YouTube page, so you can email us to request the link if you'd like it. Um, we do want to ask you all to please keep yourself on mute throughout the presentation just to eliminate any background noises. But we encourage you to be actively participating. So please feel free to ask questions along the way. You can raise your hands to unmute yourself or put your questions in the chat. That way I can facilitate the questions to our presenter. And then at the end of the presentation, hopefully we'll have a little bit more extra time to open it up for a Q&A session. Now, with that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce Eileen Pena. She's an accomplished professional whose journey is as inspiring as it's impressive. Grew up here in San Bernardino County. Eileen's a first-generation college graduate who earned her bachelor's in operations and technology management from Cal Poly Pomona, and then followed by an MBA from our very own Cal State San Bernardino. She began her career in the cement industry, and then over time, she's worked on large-scale projects across the mining, oil, and gas industries. So I'll allow her to elaborate a little bit more on this. Please join me in welcoming Eileen. Eileen, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for joining, everybody. I hope this is informative for you. I can't see your faces, but I hope to answer any questions you have at the end of the presentation and hope you get some knowledge and enrichment out of the career path. It's been rewarding for me, and I hope that any of you take interest later on down the road. Okay, let's get started here. Like Jessica said, my name is Eileen. I'm an alumni of Cal State San Bernardino, class of 2021.
Eileen, it looks like you're muted. It just went on mute, so we caught the first
Okay,
part.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Back. Okay. Okay, everybody. This is a brief intro of my working timeline, as well as some highlights of my education. This is a picture of the plant that I was previously working at on some projects. This is one of the cement plants here in the high desert. We have very nice sunsets, but anyway, most of these plants are located remotely because of the size and where they need to be located in terms of they need to be near mine sites and away from the city and housing, things like that. Okay. I received my BS degree in Operations and Technology Management from Cal Poly Pomona in 2005. It was a while until I could get back to my MBA. So there is a 15-year gap here. So it's never too late to go back if you feel that's where your path is leading you. Also, with education and tuition, you might have to wait a little bit to get into your next program. So this is what happened here. But in between these 2 years of these two different stints of school, I was able to get a lot of experience professionally, which led me to get into the professional program. I don't know if it's still called the professional program at Cal State San Bernardino, but in order to get into the professional program, you had to have at least a lot of working experience in your field. Altogether, I have 17 plus years experience for mining, cement, and gas compression projects. Most of the projects I work on, or a handful, I should say, have been over $1 billion. I've worked in remote areas and mine sites and international environments. I'm currently employed with Heidelberg Materials North America, which is another cement or material producer for the U.S., but they're based out of Heidelberg, Germany.
Oh, it looks like you're muted again.
Sorry about that. Okay, let's start with some industry definitions. I know most of you have heard about project management. It's in all kinds of industries. In my industry, it's for heavy industrial, but you'll hear that a lot also in tech. And I don't know what other industries. Tech comes to mind because they're also very large, but different type of project management. The project management I'm involved in are capital projects, which means they're investment projects. Usually these type of projects have a budget and a rate of return and are laid out for a specified period of time from start to completion. This falls under capital projects because we're expecting an investment or a payoff period at the end of the project. And they're usually larger in scale, usually over 1 million in investment, and it goes up from there. My expertise in project management is in procurement. I work in project procurement. There's different types of procurement. Project procurement is very specific to the projects that you work on. Okay, deep dive into project procurement. So the budgets I work with are usually in excess over $1 million. When you work in the bigger projects, you get used to throwing $1 million terms around quite a bit. So you lose intimidation after a while. Usually this type of procurement involves knowledge of types of contracts, which you gain through experience. You can also take classes to help you learn more about the different types of contracts, but usually the contracts are very specific to the kind of work that you're doing, very industry specific. The purchases are very large. Sometimes they take 6 or more months to buy or procure. What I mean by procure, when you go through a bidding process, you make the purchase, you go through your internal process, you issue money to wherever you're buying services or goods from, and sometimes that can take maybe up to a year or more. Technical skills are usually industry specific. For example, I couldn't take what I learned in my industry and take it into healthcare. It's two different things, two different professional skill sets and mindsets and lingo, and it doesn't always translate over. So another thing we do in project procurement is risk mitigation and dispute resolution. This comes also with knowing the types of contracts that you work with. What do I mean by risk? What risk is it to the company in terms of dollars and time? Usually dollars. Dispute resolution, how do we resolve a problem if who we're working with doesn't perform? Sometimes that's just a series of meetings, or how do we get back on track, or how do we get the schedule together again, things like that. So when you're in this certain industry, you start learning what works and what doesn't, and how to work with your suppliers and your stakeholders. This kind of procurement may require an advanced degree, maybe not at first, but later on if you want to move further. An advanced degree isn't necessarily a requirement, but after a while you'll want to know the advanced business skills. It's going to help you in your job. Okay, here's some skills that are needed that you may not always see in the classroom. The willingness to learn and ask questions and take an interest. You do that in your studies, but you'll take that with you to the workplace. Technical aptitude. How does it work? What is the system? How can I improve the system? How do I work with the system? Things like these type of questions, this type of thinking will get you ahead in the career path. Comprehension is very important. You're always listening to what other people need and how to solve the problem. Critical thinking, this is more related to how do you take a problem, break it down, see what works, see what doesn't. So there's a lot of things that you'll have to learn that aren't necessarily tactical skills or day-to-day. So what I like the most about working in the industry is that you can use your brain in this way. Another skill is math. So you do need math in this profession. It may not be advanced math, but you are working with math almost every day. And this type of math is percentages, averages, what we think we're going to be at in a year, what are we saving, things like that. You'll see it all the time. Allow time for learning in this type of career and growth. It's usually about 2+ years. So the more, I'm sorry, I see a question
So the question reads,
from Melissa.
does math pertain to budgeting and finance specifically,
Yes,
or?
yes, you'll see budgets quite a bit. You have to understand the budget. Finance, you'll see a little bit of. Why do you need to know the budget? Budget is one of the three, I would say, pillars in project management. It's always scope, budget, schedule. So you always want to know where you are, where your buying is falling a job. What I mean by this, sometimes you'll need to learn their ERP system. Let's say you can do that in a fairly short period of time. So your day-to-day skills that you'll learn with the company's systems can be taught. But what can't be taught, of course, is the critical thinking and your problem solving, your interest to learn, your questioning, thinking outside the box, those kinds of things. You will work a lot in a team environment. You won't be left by yourself to solve a problem. Usually you're solving a problem with your group and another group and your management and your operations management. So there's a lot of teams that get together to make a project work. Let's see what we've got next. Okay, fun part. What I like the most about my profession. Every time a project is completed, there is a great sense of accomplishment. You can add projects to your resume. You can add the dollar value to the projects to your resume, what your contribution was, what the end result was. It's always good if you start a project and you finish with it. And sometimes the projects can last 5 years or more. There's always unique challenges in all projects. They're never all the same. They usually have the same methodology of how to execute, but there's always a unique challenge. I work with talented colleagues from around the world, Middle East, Mexico, Europe, all over the US, South America. And this is one of the best parts of the job. Understanding of raw materials and natural resources. I work a lot on mining and gas, and you understand where a lot of your natural resources go or come from and how we use them day to day. So this is really the root of a lot of what we use in contemporary life, but no one really thinks about it. You get to think outside the box a lot, and this is where you can really flourish if you can solve really complex problems. My job, I work outside in a plant environment sometimes, and also in an office setting, so I get both. There's good salary opportunities and career paths, so you can start somewhere and then keep going. The salary really depends on what type of projects you get involved with. So obviously, if you're working on billion-dollar projects, you're going to have the opportunity to make more money. If you smaller projects, could be not, but your salary is always up for negotiation. So that's always open, and if you're willing to travel, you can even make more. So there's a lot of good opportunity here for to make a livelihood for yourself.
I have a question on that,
Oh,
Eileen.
yeah,
Um,
sorry.
can you give us like a ballpark of what a starting salary is? Just so we can kind of get an idea of what to
For
expect.
a graduate, oh, I don't know. I would say at least in the 60s or 70s.
And
They're
then,
not low paying jobs by
okay.
any means. Um,
And that's like for an
but
entry level position. And then, of
that
course,
would be for entry. That would not be unheard of if I met somebody who was just starting out within the 2 years and they're making 60,000, 65. That would be typical. Yeah, your salary is well paid
okay. And then
relative to, I don't know,
I would imagine it would be pretty easy to get to the six figures.
with some hard work and if you're willing.
Okay.
It's not,
Just
it wouldn't
gauging
be,
it.
yeah, it wouldn't be out of the norm at all. Yeah. And why these industries are high paying is because there are some constraints that you have to get used to. One of them is you work in a plant, like I wanted to show you here. Sometimes you'll be remote. There is a kind, I don't want to say a downside, but there's a little bit of risk. You work if you're on a mine site, which where my previous office was, you need to be trained. You have to be comfortable to be in that type of environment. It's very fast paced. It changes often. So not everyone is comfortable with this. So it just depends what your preference is and where you go and you feel like you're thriving. This is one project that went on. This crane here had to reach above this structure. This structure is one of the tallest structures in San Bernardino County. This structure belongs to Cemex Cement. This crane here by itself cost over $1 million to get the project done. We call this the kiln line, this long rotating piece of equipment. This is where part of the process takes place to manufacture cement. Here, the yellow is what they're replacing. We call it the gear. The gear is what turns the cylinder here. Without getting too technical, these are considered major projects. So as you can see, there's a lot that goes on. Here's a picture. This shiny part is a project that was completed this year. My role in this job was getting all this material here from Mexico. And you do a lot internationally. And you get to learn about the laws and the import, export. You work with other companies based in other countries. You get to learn their norms and you kind of go back and forth, but that's really interesting for the job. And these are some of my colleagues. There are women who work here. This isn't all men type of industry. Women are still a small percentage, but there's a lot of business professionals here as well as technical. And so don't let that scare you away. Thank you so much for joining. This time went really fast. You can contact me on LinkedIn if you like. Connect with me, follow me. There's always something interesting going on. Or if you just need someone to talk to with some guidance or advice, always available. For now, this is all I have, but I'll take any questions.
We do have one question from Christelle. Her question reads, I run a trucking company and I've been exploring opportunities in the industrial logistics. I'm curious, does mining procurement usually work directly with carriers or mostly through brokers?
Both. Both. If you have large purchases, we'll do the brokerage. If it's if we need to procure things from overseas, we'll work with a brokerage firm. That's how some companies prefer to do it. If you're local and if you want to get connected to, let's say, some of these larger plants, the plants do work with the local trucking companies directly. It's a good business, actually.
And for someone
You're
who, Eileen, I have a question. Maybe it's like a more general question for someone
Yeah.
who's not familiar with the industry at all and might be
Okay.
interested in kind of starting in this field. What are some recommendations you can make as to like, while they're in school or once they graduate, how can they go about getting into this industry?
Okay. So, first thing is finish school. Once you finish school, if this seems like something you're interested in, don't be shy to apply. Don't be scared off of where the locations are. A lot of these plants are intimidating. They're not pretty. You're not always going into a high rise in downtown, but it's good work. It's important work because it contributes to the economy. And like I mentioned before, it's a very good, you have good career growth if you're interested. You can start entry level. There's a lot of positions that start entry level and they're not looking for experience yet. They want to bring you in from school and train you. And there was a lot of college graduates that worked on the group as well. And a lot of the people who work there aren't shy to train you. They are so ready to impart what they know. So you can always start entry level. If you have experience, I would just read the job description and see what experience applies. There's a lot of business positions. There's accounting, there's human resource, there's environmental, there's engineering, there's a supply chain, procurement. There's also administrative, safety. There's a lot of positions.
Awesome. And we do have a question from Gloria. Gloria, go ahead.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for presenting. I learned
Hi.
so much.
Good.
Especially because I think in San Bernardino, we have a lot of shipping and trucking as one of our largest industries, but I've always been
Yes.
curious, what are some of the materials that we contribute in the terms of supply chain logistics? Like, what are those products that we provide? Um, and so my question would be more along the lines, and you touched on this in your last response a little bit, in terms of regulatory affairs, what how can I kind of learn more about what the regulations look like in the heavy industries?
Okay. Well,
And
there's a lot.
different, like, is it different?
There's safety regulation and then there's environmental.
Okay.
So if you're interested in safety, safety is a very good field to go into if that's what you're interested in. And there's so much safety that goes on. I don't know the career paths for safety, but I do know safety is involved in every part of what we do in the plants. Environmental is another portion of work that goes on in the plant that has to be done. So all the plant here has to follow, and California is very strict on a lot of these things. The plant has to follow a lot of emission protocol. It has to be checked. What they do in the plant has to make sure that they're not in violation of spilling hazardous materials, things like that. That's a very good field to get into, actually.
Thank you so much. Is
Yeah,
there a
you're welcome.
specific resource that you would suggest I look into? Should I peruse through, like, because our from your answer, it seems like California has a specific set of rules, and then federally we have some different sets of rules. And then you were talking about international collaboration too in your field, and so there must be like overseas agreements and stuff like that too. So where do I
So
start?
if you're into, okay, so your environmental is going to be mostly the local
Okay.
and the federal. So that's not international. The international will be more for buying goods and services.
Okay.
So the international laws for environmental don't really apply to the states. What I would do is, if you're interested in environmental, go to the company's website, whatever company you're interested in, and see if they have any environmental positions open and look at the requirements. Environmental is not my specialty. I don't know a whole lot, but I do know that apart from safety, it's like one of the other uh, top contributions that the company has to look at. So it's always environmental, stewardship, governance. So that's one of the top things companies need, especially these type of companies.
Okay, thank you so much. And in terms
Yeah,
of
you're
the
welcome.
safety, you're talking about workplace standards.
Well, yes. And okay, so for the mining industry, I'm sure all of you maybe heard of OSHA. So apart from OSHA, there's also MSHA. So if you work anywhere on a mine site, or if you go to a mine site regularly, you have to be MSHA trained. So the MSHA train really goes in depth of how the plant works, and it's more plant specific. And you learn a lot there too. I know my place. I don't get out in the plant to work on the heavy structures or anything like that. My work is limited to the office, but I do have to be out there at times. So you have to know these things no matter what. So there's OSHA and then there's MSHA. So, and then the
Thank you.
MSHA is, yeah, you're welcome, is once a year training. And safety is something that's lived out daily. It's every day you're learning about safety, even if you're not working in the plant or working on the equipment in the plant or doing something in the plant. It's kind of transcends all the business units.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Eileen, we do have one more question in the chat, and it's from Crystal. Are there any specific requirements you usually look for in trucks or carriers, like certain certifications or equipment types, or even safety standards?
For let's just take the local plant, for example. If you're just picking up and delivering, no, there isn't. It's going to depend on what what do you carry on your truck. Like if it's just simple freight, that's one thing. If you're carrying freight that has chemical in it, that's something else. So it just depends what you're using your trucking for. Then that'll tell you what kind of certs you need and what kind of insurance and so on.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see any other questions in the chat, but if anyone else has any other questions, you can, we'll open it up for any general questions.
Yeah.
You can unmute yourself and we'll take those questions as they come. Does anyone else have anything?
Good question so far.
Yeah. Okay, great. One quick question, Eileen, just because I'm in the College of Business and Public Administration,
Yeah, yeah.
um, I'm curious, when you were pursuing your graduate degree, how did you come to terms in pursuing an MBA? Is it because you already had the technical skills that you needed and you wanted to learn more about the business side, or would you mind just elaborating a little bit more on that?
Yeah. One of the reasons why I went back for the MBA was to earn more. And another reason was because I wanted to at some point, a lot of your colleagues and you have a lot of people you're working with all have a bachelor degree. So I was thinking, what takes me to the next level? And that was getting the MBA. Luckily, Cal State offered an MBA in supply chain. I couldn't get all the classes I wanted. I first wanted a finance concentration. I couldn't get all the classes I needed in just finance. So I opened up to supply chain as well, international supply chain. And it really helped. It all came together in the end. I learned a lot on the finance side. I learned also a lot on the supply chain side. And then that's what forced my career into the procurement side of things in business. Procurement is a part of supply chain. Supply chain's more the umbrella, and so procurement would be a part of that. So you have your procurement logistics, and the logistics is the trucking and the warehousing and the inventory part of things. So I don't work with inventory. That's more operational. I work more at the project level where whatever we use in the project is consumed within a certain period of time. So there's a lot of different things to know. If you work on the operation side, you're seeing more of the inventory, replenish, things like that, things that you've learned a lot in the MBA program. So you will have to have some experience to get on this side of procurement things.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we'll go ahead and end the session a little early. For those of you that weren't here in the beginning, I did indicate that we're recording the session. So if you wanted a recording, I'm going to give you our contact information. It's in the chat. So feel free to email us, and I'll be happy to provide it. Eileen, thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone who participated
Yes.
today. I'm hoping that you learned a lot. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Eileen, can you stay behind just a little bit?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.